What is going on, everyone, and welcome to FBA TV. We are joined by Ben from Beast Gear. So, sorry we're a few minutes late. Just had a few things to do before the call. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm great. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great. Let me just check that we're live in the group. Got probably quite a few people joining us today, and also it will go on to we're live on the group, and also it will go on to YouTube afterwards. So, you've been speaking at an event just before this, yeah?
Yeah, that's partly why we're late. So apologies for that, folks. I was speaking at an event local to me up in Aberdeen, entrepreneurship event, and it was good fun.
Cool, nice. Just entrepreneurship or e-commerce or?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of interest specifically in e-commerce. I mean, we're going to get to a point where we don't call e-commerce, we just call it commerce, right? Because
Course,
everything is online now. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool, awesome. So obviously, I brought you on because I thought it'd be really interesting to. There's a lot of people that are sort of building their own brand or just doing e-commerce in general. Some people doing things like online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. Some people doing brand building and private labels. So, but I thought it'd be really really good idea to bring you on with your experience from not only scaling a brand but also exiting a brand, which
Yeah.
is most people haven't done that actually. I don't know many people. I think I know of one other lady that I don't personally know her, but she's sort of a friend of a friend, who's actually managed to also do an exit like you have. That's UK sellers as well. So, it'd be really interesting to dive into your story. Maybe just check that everyone can see and hear us okay. Let us know if you can see and hear us okay in the comments, everyone. That'd be great. Let's dive into your story. What were you doing before Amazon, then?
I had a bit of an unconventional route into e-commerce. I was an ecologist. I was a marine environmental advisor to oil and gas companies. I'm from Aberdeen in northeast Scotland, and that's a big oil town. And so my job, I was the token tree hugger, dolphin hugger in my case,
Right.
telling the oil guys that they couldn't throw certain chemicals in the sea. So it's
Right.
a very big bit different than e-commerce.
Big time, yeah. Wow. So how did you discover Amazon then? Did you have an interest previously?
The whole thing was a little bit of an accident.
Yeah.
It happened because of some bad circumstances, but on reflection, I'm glad it happened. I woke up in the night in January 2016 with severe chest pain. And after being ambulanced to hospital, I found out that I had a heart condition called pericarditis. Turns out I'd actually had it twice before. And this is reasonably common in guys in their 20s. Like a hospital will have a few cases a year. And
Okay.
typically it goes away. It's quite acute, brought on by stress or a virus. But I'd had it 3 times, and the doctor said, we need to get rid of this.
Yeah.
So, because it can become chronic and life-changing. I'm fine now, but I'm back to normal now. And so I had to be signed off of work for several months, and then I had to I had to stop all my fitness hobbies, and that was really important to me. Fitness hobbies, CrossFit, running, boxing, lifting heavy weights around. That was my outlet. That was my stress relief, and I needed something to do to keep me in touch with my hobbies and just to keep me motivated and a distraction as I recovered. And turned out I was quite good at e-commerce. I was tidying out my gym bag, looking at all my kit that I couldn't use, and I thought, well, I could make this better. So I started a brand of fitness equipment, and my plan was to sell it to gyms. I didn't know you could sell on Amazon. I didn't know
Really?
I knew you could build a website and sell on a website, but I knew nothing about building websites. I didn't know that there were platforms like Shopify that let idiots like me do it. It was only after I'd started developing the first product that I discovered third-party selling on Amazon was a thing. I
Yeah.
thought this time that when you bought something on Amazon, you were buying it from Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And I realized, hold on a moment, the best, most efficient way for me to make this work is to sell directly to customers on the internet through Amazon and through a website. So I did. And so, yeah, it was a bit of a change.
God. Wow. So you literally, oh my God. So you just discovered it from. So you thought you were going to sell it to gyms, and then
That's right.
what made you discover the Amazon brand building? How did you discover that Amazon was a thing? Did someone say something?
I can actually remember it now. I had been Googling around. It was to do. I knew I'd found a couple of manufacturers or several on through Alibaba. I knew that I'd heard of Alibaba, And when Googling, you type into Google, find manufacturers, Alibaba comes up, right? And then I've been doing Googling around how to negotiate with manufacturers and how to import and this type of thing. And I came across some threads on Reddit. And then one of these threads was all about how you can sell your products on this thing called Amazon FBA, where they will fulfill the product for you and you don't have to touch it. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty efficient. And that is what took me down that rabbit hole. But it was always about brand. I was always going to build a brand, whether I was going to sell it to gyms or not. It was not about selling stuff on the internet. A lot of people get into e-commerce because they see this opportunity to sell stuff and use Amazon as a way to do that. And that can be an okay route in, but it's not sustainable. The key is to build a brand.
Something of worth, an asset. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, yeah. It's hard to sell an Amazon business that isn't a brand, isn't it? I mean,
it's very difficult.
Like an online arbitrage business, wholesale business, it's probably got some worth when it's got the right systems and process, but nowhere near.
Yeah. So if you've built a private label business with a weak brand identity, you might be able to sell that.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to sell it for necessarily very much. If you have built an arbitrage business, I'm not saying there's no value in that. I know that there are some people with amazing arbitrage businesses with fantastic systems and processes, and they have entire teams doing all these things. But really, the value is only in their systems and processes.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody's going to buy your business, they're buying your system. They're buying your methodology.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's a pretty low barrier to entry because it's not that difficult to generate a methodology for that. And there's so much competition there. So really, if you do want to build a business with a view to exiting it, and in my opinion, that is the best way to make money, you're going to make at least 50%, but probably a lot more of all the money you ever make from your business that you ever pay yourself will come when you sell it. So if you want to build something to sell, you're much better to build a brand.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're missing out on that 50%.
Yeah. At least, and it's people sometimes think that brands are these mythical creatures that other people make, right? We're all fans of brands. People love Apple. People love Tesla. People love Nike. You can have a brand, right? All of those businesses were started by individuals. If you read Shoe Dog, that was just started by some guys. I'm not saying that people are going to go and build Nike, but I am saying that calling yourself a brand is not just for these enormous corporations. It's for everyone, and it's for you. But you just need to make sure that your business looks and feels and behaves like a legit CPG brand and not some sort of side hustle that's just selling stuff on the internet.
Yeah, amazing. You scaled and you sold like very fast. So you started in, if I believe, B-Scare. You scaled in what, 2016 to 2019?
That's right, yeah.
So sold in 2019. Was that the plan from the start, or
no? So I was quite naive. I didn't know what I know now. So now I advise people, and I do it myself with my own brands and with our clients as well, is build to sell. Yeah. But I didn't know that I would sell. I started the business as a hobby to give me something to do when I was ill, maybe earn me some extra pocket money. It quickly became apparent that I was really good at it. Yeah. And I quit my job and scaled it up, and we were doing about $6 million in sales when I sold it.
It's crazy.
And now I advise people to begin with the end in mind and build a business which you can develop into a valuable asset to sell. But I didn't know that I would sell it at the time. It was only when I was probably a year and a half in that I knew that I was developing a strong enough asset, and I started to really do the work so that then another year and a half down the line, I was in a great position where I could sell.
Yeah. Okay. Right now, but you say to people right now, you should build to sell, and that totally makes sense. I mean, yeah. I think there's a lot of people that are sort of guessing it, you know what I mean? Not planning it, not guessing it, and just going in blindsided. And that's probably when it ends up taking a lot longer as well, For example, I've been in e-commerce for years. I I'm nowhere near selling a brand, for the sort of money that you sold it. But that's because that wasn't my intention at the start. But I think you probably realised that faster than me.
But that's okay. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
with that. I mean, and there's people out there who have businesses which sometimes people get the wrong end of the stick when I say what I'm about to say. So sometimes I say this: if you've built a business where if you personally stop working,
yeah,
the money stops coming in, then you haven't built a business, you've built a job.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Some people want that. That is okay. But if you want to build a business where you can step away, you can go on holiday, you can fall down the stairs and break your legs and be in hospital for 6 weeks and it will keep running, then you need to develop a business with a team, with automations, with outsourcing, with an operations manual full of SOPs explaining how the business runs, which a potential buyer can pick up and drop into their own setup. That is what will be attractive to a buyer.
Yeah, certainly. So you sort of touched on it slightly, but in terms of discovering the products you were going to sell, how did you discover the niche and the products to sell? So it was purely passion. Was it a passion-based?
Absolutely, and I advise everyone to sell products that they're passionate about. So what happened with Beast Gear was this: it must have been about 2012.
Yeah,
I was training at CrossFit, and at the end of a session, somebody said, "We absolutely beasted it today." And I thought to myself, "Beasted it, Beast Gear. That would be a cool name for a brand." And I did absolutely nothing about it. It wasn't until I got sick with this heart condition that I did something about it. And that's okay. Sometimes in life, we need something to spark us into action. So if nothing else, I hope anyone who hasn't started yet, doesn't get a heart condition and they go and just take action, right?
Recipe for success.
And so, yeah, it's got to be something you're passionate about. With Beast Gear, I made myself the face of the brand. I was in all the videos. I was front and center of everything, despite being an averagely fit, normal guy, because I was passionate about it and I knew what our customers wanted. They wanted reliable equipment that worked, with customer service that matched, that wasn't too expensive, and many of them wanted to buy from someone they were related to. They didn't like these faceless corporations in the fitness world where everything was about who's the biggest, the muscliest, the fastest, the thinnest. It was about, hey, I'm a normal guy. I deserve to train with great equipment. Come and join us. And hey, top athletes were welcome. We worked with top athletes, but also really unfit people doing their first couch to 5K were welcome, right? And that worked. And so I would say to people, go into a niche in which you're passionate. If you're a knitter, start a knitting brand. If you're a software developer, start a brand for software developers. If your job is that you're a dentist and you see that there's things lacking in the dentistry world, start a dentistry brand, right? Whatever it might be. A brand, there's lots of definitions, but some people think of brand, they just think of logo and font. That's not a brand.
Yeah.
A brand is a collection of products that solve problems for a group of people. So who are your people? That's the question. Who are your people? What can you get fired up and passionate about? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
When you first came onto my radar, Ben, it was when I was in. So I used to live in Eastbourne. I've just moved down actually towards more sort of Londonish, closer to London. And I was just walking on the street, and I saw your brand somewhere on Amazon, and then I saw someone wearing a T-shirt, a Beast Gear T-shirt.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, strange. And then didn't think anything of it. A year later, I was walking through London. I saw some of a Beast Gear bag, or like a carrier bag, something like that. It was like, was it a bag or was it like a gym strap or something like that?
Probably something like that, yeah.
And I was like, okay, this brand's actually quite out there, And then I started researching on Amazon, and I saw you, and then I was like, wow, like, this has literally come from Amazon. Now I'm seeing it. I'm literally seeing it out in the UK. There's not many brands you see, and you actually see see people actually wearing it and all over the place.
It was bonkers when I first started to see strangers in the gym using my stuff and seeing strangers posting about it on Instagram. And this is why you have to treat your business like a real brand, not an Amazon account. Amazon is one of your sales channels.
Yeah.
You should have more than one sales channel. It's okay for Amazon to be the majority of your sales, not a problem. but you don't treat your business. You don't have an Amazon business, right? Only Jeff has an Amazon business.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
have a business, and Amazon is a sales channel, and that's important to remember.
Mm.
And I'm so glad that you saw the stuff out and about. I think I just want to mention something that I have to mention these days, which is that I sold the business in late 2019.
Mm.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, the new owner hasn't taken great care of it. So I'm frankly embarrassed by a lot of what people now see when they look at
Right.
BSQ stuff. So caveat, anything that looks a bit crap wasn't me.
I got it. So they're just trying to make money from it. We'll talk about that soon, actually. Yeah. Did you talking about the extra business? Did you have a big team? Because you said you were doing 6 million before you sold it. Was that a big team? Because most companies that are doing 6 million have a big team.
Nope. My
No.
team was me and 3 freelancers.
When you say freelancers, virtual assistants, or
Yeah, I don't like to use the phrase virtual assistant because, in my opinion, they are so much more than an assistant. They're a
of
legit
course.
part of the team. I mean, they work for themselves as a freelancer because they're in another country, so we don't have a business entity there, so they're not employed by our entity.
Yeah.
But they were part of the team, and I still work with several of them in new projects now. And so, yeah, it was me and these fantastic freelancers who were working on a variety of things from customer service through to social media. And then everything else that required expertise that I didn't have was outsourced. So, for example, accounting. My accountant was outsourced to a fantastic accounting firm. And actually, the director of that accounting firm, Alison, is now my business partner in Ecom Brokers. So,
Wow.
how these things go around.
Amazing. That's fantastic. That's I've not heard of someone doing 6 million a year with e-commerce that's got free freelancers. I haven't heard of that. So that's obviously power to your systems and processes you've created, I would assume.
It is, but it's also just it illustrates the power of the level playing field we live on now. We live in a time when you and I can learn and do just about anything we want outside of, say, becoming a brain surgeon. We can learn and do anything we want for free using YouTube and books and podcasts. I didn't take any courses. There are some good courses out there, but there's a lot of terrible courses out there from slimy marketing gurus who know nothing about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the tools that exist to allow us to outsource and automate mean that you can have a business that's doing $6 million with just a team of 3. And frankly, we could have been doing more because a mistake I made was I launched in the UK and then we went into Europe. I wish I'd launched in the US. I think instead of seeing $6 million when I sold, we probably would have been doing double or triple that.
Wow.
Not because of any extra skill on my part, but just because of the sheer size of the marketplace. So sometimes I hear about these people doing these enormous numbers, 8 figures and whatnot, and I think you're not really any better than me. It's just that, you went into the right market. Which actually, in their defense, that does make them better than me. They made a better decision than I did.
So you wish you started in the USA and just did it in the USA, not the UK at all, or both?
I probably would have still come over here.
Yeah.
I wish I'd started in the US probably a year earlier than I did, but I didn't. I didn't get sick a year earlier, right? Yes, I wish I started in the US, but I still don't regret, with any deep regret, starting in the UK because it made sense to me. It felt natural to me. It was local to me.
Yeah.
It was comfortable for me. And it was a quick entry into the EU because pan-EU is a thing then. We hadn't left the EU. The Brexit vote was in 2016.
Yeah.
But we didn't literally leave the EU for a few more years yet. And I was able to build a fan base in the UK who resonated with me because I'm in the UK.
Yeah. I saw your video recently. I shared it on the group yesterday, actually, just before you came on the interview. One of the Beast Gear Facebook page where you're in your garage talking about the image that people have of Beast Gear being a big, corporate, company. Because you were doing all them sales, but you're in your garage. Obviously, you didn't do all the prepping from your garage, though, did you? To do 6 million, I assume you had.
No. So, yeah, I still used my garage. I used my garage to store a little bit of inventory, but it was mostly where I would receive new inventory for new orders, and it was where I would test prototypes.
Yeah.
So if I was developing a new product, I would always take the first order, or at least a portion of that first order from my manufacturer to my house.
Yeah.
It had already been through an inspection internally and a third-party external inspection, but I wanted to lay my hands and eyes on the first order,
Yeah.
which is why I did use my garage. And it's a good job I used my garage, because before that I was using my dad's shed and he was getting fairly unimpressed with that.
Oh. You sold the company in 2019 for, well, between $2 and $3 million is what I saw online. What made you exit it then? Because obviously, if it was worth that, it was doing 6 million. All of your regular income disappears overnight. Although, well, yeah, I'm just interested to know what what the reasoning was behind exiting a brand that was growing so rapidly.
Of course. So we have to remember that 2019 is a long time ago in e-commerce years.
Mm.
E-commerce years are like dog years, right? So multiply
Yeah,
by
definitely.
so much has changed.
Yeah.
When I started to think about selling right at the beginning of that year, no one had heard of the aggregators, and buying and selling e-commerce businesses was still bonkers. People would look at you, you had two heads, right? It's not a real business. It doesn't have a roof or a door. You can't sell it. You can't buy it. But I began to hear whispers that you could. A friend of mine had sold 2 e-commerce businesses, much, much smaller than mine. And doing some back of an envelope calculations, I came to realize what my business could be worth. And considering the crossroads the business was at, we were growing. I potentially would need to hire more people. My wife was pregnant. We were trying to move house. My wife was studying as well. Life was pretty intense. It felt like the right thing to do for me and my family.
Okay.
And that's pretty much why I sold then. And I don't regret it. If I'd sold even 6 months later, I would have got a lot more for the business, because the mergers and acquisitions bubble in e-commerce exploded. And I could have got a much higher multiple probably, but I still don't regret selling when I did, because you can't live your life like that, right? I might finish this call with you and then get hit by a bus. I don't know. Hopefully not. But you can't live your life worrying about that.
No, you're right. Yeah. And also, there is something to be said for having that. You never know what's going to happen, do you? Amazon could shut all third-party selling down overnight tomorrow. Very unlikely, but they do have the power to do that, and then the business is worth nothing. Well, a lot less. A lot less, because you'll have to hit the ground. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for selling it for a lump fee. Awesome. So, what advice would you give someone looking to start a brand on Amazon today?
I'm so glad you asked that, and I love the way you asked it, because somebody might have asked me, what advice would you give to someone looking to start an Amazon business today? And you used the word start a brand on Amazon, which is a great acknowledgement of 2 things. 1, you need to start a brand, and 2, it's a brand that happens to sell on Amazon. So my advice is this: ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What can you see yourself getting up in the morning for and being super motivated for? And what are you willing to sacrifice your entire social life for, your lunch breaks, your evenings, and your weekends for? And then ask yourself, what challenges and pain points do your people in that passion have? And how can you serve them with products that solve problems for them? It doesn't have to be brand new. It can already exist, but you can then just position your product better with better branding. That's the advice I would give to them. And branding, right, is how you make people feel. Brand is a collection of products. Branding is how you make people feel. So it's about then positioning your brand to make people feel how you would want people interested in that niche to feel. Do you want them to feel loyalty, excited, to love your brand, to become fans of your brand and tell all their friends about it and defend your brand and get a tattoo of your brand and tag you on everything on social media? That's what it's all about. It is no longer about using clever Chrome extensions to find some little gap and then source a product off of Alibaba to fill that gap, and it's going to maybe provide you with a quick buck for 6 months, and you've got to find something else. That's not how to do it. So my advice is, think of your favorite brands, whether that's to do with your hobbies, your profession, or the food in your cupboards, and ask yourself how they look and feel and behave, and do that.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard anyone talk about that. The difference in not using the softwares alone. I think they can help, but not using the softwares alone. You're right. You've got to get that feeling, haven't you?
They have a place. But they are not. They are the cement between the cracks. But the huge building blocks comes from your gut and your heart from building a brand that serves people.
Wow, powerful. So you mentioned the USA, which I assume's probably going to be the answer here. But any major mistakes you made when starting out?
So I wouldn't say not going to the US was a mistake because I didn't like actively do anything. I sort of passively didn't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some mistakes, and I got some lucky. I got off the hook a few times. A big one was it could have been big. It wasn't, but it could have been. I made the mistake of asking in the forums, how do I get a trademark? And listening to the advice of, oh, you can do it yourself for a couple £100. Go to the Intellectual Property Office website of the UK government, do it yourself. And people can look this up, by the way. Go check this out. This is a great case study, right? So go search for Beast Gear trademarks in the IPO, Intellectual Property Office.gov.uk website, and you will see trademarks from 2016. And when I received these, I was very smug. Oh, brilliant, I've got my trademark. It only cost me a few £100. And then if you search, you'll see the exact same trademarks done again about a year later. And that is because if you click into them and look at the much deeper coverage of those trademarks, which were done by a professional, you'll see that actually the ones I made were crap. They barely protected the brand for anything. But the ones that were done by a professional intellectual property lawyer protected us for a much deeper and broader set of products. And on the back of that experience, that same intellectual property firm helped me protect the brand internationally. So I could have made a huge mistake by not properly protecting my brand. In fact, I did. But luckily, after a year, I got off with it.
Wow, that's really interesting, because what I've noticed recently, I typed in Beast Gear the other day onto Google, and I kept seeing, Eddie Hall. He calls himself the Beast, and he works with Man, doesn't he? Like, he promotes them. I don't know if you know, and they bringing out stuff called Beast products, and I'm like, wow, that's.
I mean, personally, I think that they are infringing on the trademarks that belong to Beast Gear, because there are websites that promote Eddie Hall's stuff, and they refer to Beast Gear as in equipment.
Yeah,
they're not using it as like the name Beast Gear, but they're saying Beast Gear. In my opinion, they're infringing. I have flagged that to the lawyers of the new owners, and they have not done anything about it. Unfortunately, so here's another lesson, right? When you sell your business, you have to accept you are letting it go. It doesn't belong to you anymore, and decisions belong with the new owners. And it is sad, but I've come to terms with it. If I could buy the business back tomorrow, I would.
Really?
I can't, because A, I don't think they'd sell it to me for a price that I would pay, and B, I need the money for other projects that I'm doing. But one day, if that opportunity came up, I'd probably buy it back.
Wow. What are you doing now, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So when I sold my business, I sold it through a broker who were terrible.
Right.
It was one of those popular flipping or listing websites. There's 6 or 7 or 8 of them. And they are not a good way to sell a real mature business. They came to exist when it was all about just flipping like affiliate sites and blogs, and that's probably appropriate. But if you want to sell an actual business that's turning over a lot of money and you're going to be selling it for millions, you don't flip it on a website that treats it like a garlic press on eBay.
Yeah, I got it.
You take it through a mature mergers and acquisitions process with people who know what they're doing. But in 2019, there weren't many options, and my friend had sold 2 very, very small businesses on one of these sites. And the service I used, very famous, outsourced a lot of it. And the guy that ran the numbers was not qualified to. He basically was straight out of university with a degree in something like history of art. They taught him how to pull some reports from Amazon and Shopify and slap it in a Google Sheet.
Right.
And I knew the numbers didn't make sense. And then Alison, my accountant, looked at it, and we figured out where they'd gone wrong. And would have cost me in the region of £300,000. What's that? $500,000? Because of the mistakes they'd made. And this had gone through their process. They were ready to go to market. They'd quality assured this. So I negotiated down their discount, their commission, and they still made more money on their lower commission at the higher numbers than I calculated than they would have done on their calculation. And eventually the deal was done. And at the end of the process, Alison and I said, we can do better than that. So we started Ecom Brokers. So I help e-commerce business owners plan and then execute their exit. Alison's got 30 years mergers and acquisitions experience. I understand what it's like to live and breathe e-commerce. I'm still building brands. And we've got John, who sits in Chicago. He's ex-Amazon. He's bought and sold many brands through the organizations he's worked with. So we help people sell their e-com businesses, whether they want to sell it now, or we'll mentor them to an exit in 12, 18, 24 months time.
Wow.
And then meanwhile, I'm still building brands. So I launched a brand about 2 weeks ago with a former competitor. We're now co-founders.
Wow.
And I'm developing a baby brand now, which is a long process, and that will not be ready until probably late next year.
Wow. It's amazing. So you're still well and truly, doing it.
It's all fun and games. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why not? Once you've got the experience, and you put even more systems and processes in place. Wow. Inspiring. Have you got any sort of words of wisdom, sort of final words of wisdom for anyone wanting to follow the path that you took?
Give yourself permission. I have no business experience, no product development experience, no marketing experience, and I suffered from a lot of imposter syndrome. I still do. I had imposter syndrome this morning when I was speaking at that event. And give yourself permission to just start. Because no one's gonna come along and say, oh yeah, go for it. Right? You need to give yourself permission, but be sensible. There is a toxic culture that exists that says, entrepreneurs take risks, quit your job, put everything on a credit card, go for it. And that's easy for people to type from behind the safety of their computer screen.
Yeah.
But don't be stupid. You've probably got a job, you've got responsibilities, you've got bills to pay, you might have a mortgage, you might have children to feed. Take risks after you've calculated the risk and figured out that this could work, and then build yourself up slowly. But definitely go for it.
Fantastic. Ben, it's been fantastic. Thanks for that. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know it's very valuable and you're very busy, and obviously you were busy just coming back from the speaking event. So I'm sure you want to sit down and have a coffee and relax for a bit. But yeah, Ben, that was fantastic. Thanks very much. Maybe we'll get you on in a couple of years or something when you made even more progress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to come on and chat. I'm a very open kind of guy. Happy to come on and speak with your audience. Maybe we'll do something in the new year. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Have you got anywhere that anyone can find you, like Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah. So if you want to talk about planning your exit, it's ecombrokers.co.uk. It's a UK domain, but we work all over the world.
So that's for anyone that's building a brand and wants to, get it more serious.
Yeah. You can check out my stuff at benleonard.pro, and I'm on all social media at benleonardpro. Podcast. Go to benleonard.pro/podcast. What else? YouTube, benleonard.pro/YT. I'm on there. Contact me. I'm very open and I'm always happy to speak with entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Ben, thanks so much again.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.